we've found ways to put ourselves in position for success no matter what. And we didn't have it in all areas tonight, but we gave ourselves a chance down the stretch, and I think it says a lot about this group. And
the Indiana Fever entered their contest against the Los Angeles Sparks battered but still heavy favorites. They were missing Caitlin Clark, sidelined with a sore groin for a 5th straight game.
Everybody's getting better, except the officials. So we got to find a way to remedy it. I mean, you've heard every coach talk about it, so I don't know what the answer is.
Clark's absence left a void in the team's offense. Without her court vision and scoring threat, the Fever's attack simply did not flow the same way. On top of that, Darice Dantas was overseas representing her country in the FIBA Americas, and Dana Bonner had abruptly stepped away from the roster, leaving head coach Stephanie White scrambling to reset her rotations and find new ways to generate offense. Despite these key losses, most analysts still saw Indiana as a clear favorite. ESPN's matchup predictor gave them nearly a 73% chance to win, and sportsbooks installed them as 6.5-point favorites. Early on, it looked as if the Fever might deliver on those expectations. Aaliyah Boston asserted herself inside, bullying her way to the rim and drawing fouls to help chip away at her season-high numbers. Boston finished the night with a double-double. 23 points and 12 boards, finishing 9 of 17 shots from the field and converting 5 of 7 free throw attempts. Her presence in the paint forced the Sparks to send extra defenders her way, opening up spot-up opportunities on the perimeter. Kelsey Mitchell capitalized, knocking down 3 triples on her way to 19 points. Mitchell also cleared a franchise milestone, appearing in her 251st game and moving past everyone but Tamika Catchings in Fever history. Natasha Howard added veteran stability, pouring in 21 points on 8 of 11 shooting and hauling down 9 rebounds in a near double-double effort. These 3 all-star level performances should have produced an easy win.
We come to play the game and people want to see us play. I think it's just that simple, man. We can't control everybody's actions. To the person or people who think, it's cool, hats off to you. And, to the higher power, I hope they keep praying for you. But for us, we want to keep the main thing. And I think that's about the basketball for both teams.
But something changed as the game wore on. Without Clark to orchestrate the offense, the Fever's spacing deteriorated. Boston found fewer clear paths to the basket as defensive rotations tightened around her. Mitchell's attempts from deep began to come on contested looks, and off-ball cutters couldn't find the soft spots in the defense they'd exploited earlier. Howard did her best to fill the gaps, driving aggressively and finishing in traffic, but the sparks of cohesion that had fueled Indiana's 3-game winning streak simply weren't there. The Fever's pace slowed, they turned the ball over at inopportune times, and the shot clock became an enemy. Meanwhile, the Sparks, widely regarded as one of the league's weakest teams, began to rally. They pounded the ball inside, attacked mismatches, and hit contested shots that seemed to rattle the Fever's confidence. Yet none of these struggles mattered more than the string of questionable whistles handed down by the officiating crew. In the fourth quarter, the Sparks drew 9 free throws while managing to convert nearly every trip to the charity stripe. Nearly every time Boston sealed her defender, she was whistled for a phantom touch foul. When Sophie Cunningham drove baseline, she was yanked backward by the neck, only for the refs to call a jump ball instead of penalizing the blatant hold. Crucial offensive rebounds by the Fever were wiped out by technical fouls for alleged pushing, and calls that went against them in transition killed momentum.
I think we were on 1 for 11, off the bench. And oftentimes, when we can get people going, it's in transition, and we couldn't do that because we couldn't get stops. You can't get out of transition when you're consistently taking the ball to the net. And for us, we felt like we had enough offensively.
Stephanie White, known for her calm, analytical demeanor, watched the late-game officiating unfold in disbelief. She paced the sideline, arms crossed, as her players fought tooth and nail. She saw Howard's drive to the basket, a textbook attack on the rim, blow up into an offensive foul call. She watched Mitchell's three-pointer bank in, only for the Sparks to earn possession on a dubious loose ball foul. As the clock wound down and Indiana clung to a 1-point deficit, the pounding of whistles against them seemed relentless. Aaliyah Boston, who had been ankle-deep in matchups all night, found herself saddled with foul trouble that looked entirely manufactured. Even her most obvious layup attempts against standing-still defenders were penalized.
I think one of the things that we have a benefit is our depth. So we're just going to continue to bring multiple bodies off the bench, try to wear them down. These players have been playing in this league a long time, and this is not abnormal. The way that the scheduling is and how much they have to play and heavy minutes and all of that. So they're used to this. But for us, it's we've got to try to use our depth to our advantage and try to stay fresh and give them different looks on the defensive end of the floor. That can hopefully make it difficult and make them work that much harder after coming off of a double overtime game.
By the final buzzer, the Fever had suffered a narrow defeat they should never have had to fight to avoid. The arena buzzed with frustration, and Fever fans at home shook their heads in disbelief. Immediately after the game, reporters crowded around White in the post-game press conference. She could have offered measured analysis, pointed to execution, or missed rotations. Instead, she uttered only 5 words that cut to the heart of what every player and every fan felt. "We didn't get the calls," she said. In that instant, she crystallized hours of agitation. Hours of watching her team's hard work nullified by officiating that seemed to tilt the playing field. White's statement echoed across social media platforms. Fever supporters shared clips of the neck grab on Cunningham, of Boston's phantom foul calls, and of free throw disparities that ballooned in the fourth quarter. Some pundits called for a review of the officiating crew. Others demanded more accountability from the league office. Meanwhile, White's players stood by her side, their shoulders slumped but their eyes shining with determination. They knew the outcome had been unfair, but they also knew that dwelling on the injustice wouldn't change the result.
I think we got another level and it's on the defensive end of the floor. That first quarter, we had some moments of lulling in intensity that the runs need because they're out executing us, not because they're outworking us. When the shot goes up, we think we're done. We got to continue to string stops together, okay? Discipline to finishing plays. Down there, we got to make a run.
In the days following the loss, the Fever dug into film, isolating the blown calls and the sequences where they had let opportunities slip away. White, ever the teacher, used the adversity as a learning tool. She reminded her team that while they could not control the referee's decisions, they could control their effort, their focus, and their execution. Boston continued to work on changing her angles to the basket. Mitchell refined her catch-and-shoot rhythm to create separation, and Howard polished her mid-range pivots to avoid the crowded lane. Off the court, the coaching staff tweaked defensive rotations to limit unnecessary contact and reduce the chance for phantom whistles. Behind the scenes, the Fever also prioritized getting their injured pieces back healthy. Clark reported progress in her recovery, slowly ramping up drills and vision exercises. Dantis wrapped up her international duties, and Bonner's return became a rallying point for the locker room. The team scheduled extra medical check-ins and recovery sessions to ensure each player had the best chance to contribute. White emphasized balance, knowing that tanking and frustration didn't serve anyone, and neither did burnout from over-practicing.
And then what did you make of Sophie Cunningham's flagrant foul on JC towards the end?
It was a flagrant foul.
You think it's like defending Caitlin or defending the team, or how do you view just how it all?
I view it as a flagrant foul.
I'll ask about the game too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys came for basketball.
As the calendar flipped toward mid-season, the Fever plotted their redemption tour. Their upcoming schedule featured matchups against teams like Golden State, Atlanta, Dallas, Connecticut, and New York, each presenting a chance to prove that last night's debacle was an aberration, not a trend. When Clark finally rejoined the lineup, the forecast predicted a surge. Clark running the pick and roll, Boston sealing off defenders in the paint, Mitchell spotting up from deep, Howard guarding the toughest assignments, and newcomers like Lexi Hall bringing tenacity on the wings. White envisioned a lineup that combined youth and experience, one that had already tasted playoff intensity through the adversity of injury and, yes, questionable calls. For fans, the sparks of hope reignited. They traded their anger for anticipation, imagining how the team's emerging chemistry would flourish when fully healthy. They recounted the rogue calls as a badge of honor, proof that the Fever had fought to the very end under the harshest conditions. Social feeds filled with rallying cries to stay loyal and trust the process. Merchandise flew off shelves bearing slogans like "Calls can't stop us" and "We didn't get the calls, but we'll get the wins."
And as of right now, there is a clear agenda when it comes to this specific basketball team. There is hatred towards them dealing with these WNBA referees. Now, I am here to tell you, a lot of fans been kind of mad at Stephanie White not speaking up about the whistle not going their way. Now, she even has been receiving technical fouls as of lately, kind of jawing at the referees and kind of voicing her frustration because at this point, it's starting to affect game.
In practice, the players let out their frustration on the court, running drills with razor-sharp intensity. Coaches blew whistles at every misstep, mirroring the adversity of the game and forcing the team to adapt. Off the bench, role players who had rushed onto the floor in the game against the Sparks received extended minutes, building confidence for when their numbers would matter most. White challenged each athlete to embrace the hard knocks, to use the sting of that loss as pure motivation rather than a distraction. By the time game day returned against a tough Western Conference opponent, the Fever looked and felt different. Their rotations flowed more smoothly, their ball movement was crisper, and their defense played with a chip on its shoulder. When referees blew whistles, the team responded with poise rather than panic, shrugging off calls or no calls and focusing on the next play. The lessons from the Sparks game had forged mental toughness. Kelsey Mitchell, once again a three-point threat, drilled a corner triple in the second quarter that snapped a tie. 4 minutes later, Aaliyah Boston bullied her way to a powerful layup that drew contact but turned an and-one situation into 3 points. Natasha Howard brought down 2 offensive rebounds in 1 possession and finished with a smooth hook shot. Even Sophie Cunningham, whose jump ball turnover had sucked the life out of the Fever against Los Angeles, knocked down a pull-up jumper with 10 seconds left to seal the win. Each moment felt like a direct answer to the misadventures of the earlier officiating fiasco. After the game, Stephanie White spoke again. This time, she smiled. She talked about focus, execution, and the team's resilience. There was no need to revisit the painful wounds of the Sparks game, because this victory demonstrated that the Fever could control their destiny. When reporters asked whether the poor calls had spurred them, White simply replied, "We used it as fuel." Her players echoed the sentiment. They had turned unfair adversity into a stepping stone for success. The journey was far from over. The league's schedule still held tough challenges, and the specter of injury always loomed. But the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White had proven that no amount of foul trouble, missing stars, or blown whistles could derail their pursuit of a championship. They had stared down injustice and emerged smarter, stronger, and more united than before. And as long as they continued to harness adversity, there was no limit to what they could achieve.